a lot of, I guess, what even got me to this point in general. I'm sure that you guys know, obviously these are my Nana and Papa, and I have an awesome daughter who married a pastor, so I'm a pastor's kid and grew up in the church, all that stuff. But as I'm sure you know, being a pastor's kid comes with a lot of challenges too, and our family's moved around a good bit. So life has just been pretty tough moving around and all that kind of stuff. And to be completely honest, I didn't take my faith even very seriously until I was about 16 years old, a junior in high school. I actually had to move from Pennsylvania to Michigan halfway through high school, which was really, really, really tough. But in that move actually came a deeper relationship with God for myself in my own life, which, I mean, was a huge blessing. Very thankful for that. And did really well in my faith the last 2 years of high school, and go to Indiana Wesleyan now. And my first year at school was not the greatest, I guess you could say. Just didn't really take a hold of all the opportunities I had to grow in my faith and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of my freshman year, I just really, really decided that I wanted to just take a year even off of dating, and just really invest in myself and become the man that God wanted me to be. And through that came a ton of opportunities. 2 summers ago, I got to travel on a summer ministry team for the school and got to just hang out with 3 people from Indiana Wesleyan and go to camps, like high school camps in states like Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Ohio, all that kind of stuff. And had a very transformative summer. Just really, really found out a lot about myself and the kind of man that I wanted to be, the kind of pastor I want to be someday, and all that kind of stuff. So headed into my sophomore year at college, I really, really had a mindset of just really wanting to grow in my faith this next year and just continue to become that man that God wanted me to be, take my classes more seriously, even all that kind of stuff. So last year at school was a huge year of growth. I got a mentor named Garrett, who is actually the leader of the ministry I'm going to be working with this year, and met my best friend now at school. His name is Andy, and we have very, very similar stories, which is awesome, and we just grew super close this past year at school and just have really, really been pushing one another in our faith journey. Kind of fits the bill exactly of as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Just that verse. That's really my relationship with Andy. Just very, very cool. And so this last year has just been a year of serious growth. But through that mentorship with Garrett that I was talking about, there was a lot of opportunities that came up. So Garrett has been deciding, been planning, been praying to launch this discipleship ministry on our campus at Indiana Wesleyan, for freshmen specifically, but for the whole school as well. And he really wanted to disciple a very small group of people. So there's 10 interns is what we're called, and there's 10 of us interns with this ministry called Awaken Ministries. And the hope, the vision is that we will really be able to pour into the freshman class specifically and be able to take anywhere, each of us 10 interns take anywhere from 15 to 20 freshman students, and just really be able to walk through life with them this year, be able to disciple them, all that kind of stuff. And through that comes obviously a lot of good conversation with these freshman students, and also our hope is that the upperclassmen will kind of see what we're doing with these freshman students and then even want to be a part of it. So that's just like kind of one tiny section of what we're doing, is discipling students on campus. And then another large part of what we're doing is traveling. And I did that again this past summer, a lot of camp ministry once again, and it's just, I mean, absolutely crazy, the kind of stuff that I just been able to see, get to do. I think my favorite story from this summer, even, just to give you guys a little perspective on the kind of stuff I get to be a part of, is there's one student who he's been adopted by a family with his sister. They've been together since they were born, but they both were actually adopted at different times, so they've been together and apart and all this kind of stuff. And they have an older brother who's not their biological brother, who has actually been incredibly abusive to this young man. And he's grown up in a home where he's just honestly feared for his own life. He's been beaten to a pulp by his older brother,
Wow.
and there's a lot of just fear and anxiety in this kid's life, and just a lot of darkness, to be completely honest. And he showed up at this camp actually under a death threat from his older brother, and just showed up with a ton of fear in his heart, and never ever had he felt the presence of God before. He even asked me, I was his cabin counselor for the week, he'd asked me, what does it mean to be a Christian? How do you know that you actually have a relationship with the Lord? And just had a chance to talk to him about that kind of stuff, and just kind of love on him that first night there. And he actually had really, really bad sunburn as well when he showed up to camp, which was kind of interesting. So before bed, I just asked him if I could pray for him on the first night. I just really wanted him to be able to have a good week, and I prayed that he would be able to just experience the presence of God at camp, at least the next night. I really was hoping that the next night of camp he would just be able to have a breakthrough and experience the love of God for the first time. And I just also prayed that God would just heal his sunburn. I don't know why, I just really felt led to do that, and I totally believe that God's still in the business of doing cool stuff like that. So the next morning, to be completely honest, I'm not a morning person at all, so I woke up and I'd totally forgotten that I'd even prayed that prayer. And he woke up and he was all excited. He was like, you won't believe what happened. My sunburn is completely gone. It feels so good. And it was just a really cool moment for him and for myself. Just really opened him up to the love of God. He'd never, like I said, he'd never felt that before. So that was just a really cool way that God met him where he was at. And I think it just really opened him up for the rest of the day and then the rest of the camp. And that night, he just really, at the evening rally, the floodgates opened in his life, and he experienced God for the first time, gave his life to Jesus, and that didn't make everything easy for him the rest of the week. There was still a lot of darkness that was in his life, and you could tell the enemy was really unhappy with what was going on. But just a very cool moment, a very cool story. And just got to celebrate that with him, and then enjoy the next few days with him as well. Just celebrating what God had done, and God just continued to move in his life. So that's just kind of a snapshot of the things that I've been able to be a part of, get to do, get to see. And so as I said, we're going to be discipling students on campus. We're also going to be doing a lot of traveling to go to different youth camps, youth retreats, youth conferences, all that kind of stuff, high school, other colleges as well. And just on weekends get to go and share our ministry, our heart, and just what we really want to do. And the hope, the big vision is that as we plant this discipleship ministry on campus at Indiana Wesleyan, hopefully the interns, the vision is that the interns will take over, and then the main guy, Garrett, can go actually plant the discipleship ministry at another college campus. And the hope, like I said, is that it can just continue to be planted at other universities. So very large scale dream and vision is that many universities would have this great discipleship ministry for incoming freshmen, and that there would just be this tone set of students being able to come into school and immediately just take their faith seriously, and have mentors who have been there, done that, just be able to pour into their life and really kind of allow them to get past the surface level faith that I think we see a lot just in the church in America. I think that's a big problem, is people just not talking about their big problems, just pretending that everything's okay. And that's something that we really want to change, especially on our campus. So just really want to see people take their relationship with the Lord seriously, and just have a real raw faith. So that's what I'm going to get to be a part of. I don't know if any of you guys have questions. I'm happy to answer.
Marcus, that young man that you were talking about, was he a student, or how did he get in that camp?
Yeah, he was, I want to say he was in 8th or 9th grade, going to 8th or 9th grade. So he was pretty young. But yeah, he was either middle school or high school student. So yeah, pretty young, but it was really awesome to see him there. So yeah. And that's just one of many stories as well. I could talk about it forever. Yeah.
I just have a comment, Marcus. It blesses my heart to see young people like yourself that follow in the will of Jesus Christ. And it's so much needed. And you said something, I think, that really, one of the things that I've seen in my travels is there seems to be this rising up of young people in the world. And it's, as they look around, there are things happening, and we go on very callous to the fact that, you know, everything is absent of God
Yeah.
in our daily lives and what we experience. And well, I'm just so pleased to see young men like yourself rising up and doing what you are doing, the work of Jesus Christ. But it's so important.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
I made a comment to your grandpa and grandma, and probably both of them, I don't remember exactly. I said, he sure is a quiet young man. I said, you'll have to get out of that if he wants to be a preacher. Overnight.
Yeah, I can promise you, I'm, at least around my friends, I'm not very quiet. So I'm known as one of the louder ones, so I don't think that'll be too big of a problem. But
How big a school is Wesleyan?
Indiana Wesleyan's about 3,000 students right now, and we are actually going to be getting a football team in 2 years. So it's probably going to grow a good bit. They're thinking to 4,000 or 5,000. It's just going to bring in, obviously, a whole football team, but I'm sure that that'll bring in a lot more guys than we currently have too. That's kind of a deal breaker for some guys, is not having a football team, just kind of the atmosphere of campus and everything. So.
Is Indiana Wesleyan considered a Christian college?
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay.
It's part of the Wesleyan denomination, one of 5 Wesleyan schools, and definitely very, very Christ-centered. We have chapel 3 times a week. We definitely have like countless opportunities just to, meet the Lord on campus. I firmly believe that it's one of those campuses that you just walk on and you feel the presence of God immediately. But one of the issues I think that we've found, and one of the reasons I'm personally so passionate about this discipleship ministry on campus, is that there's almost so many opportunities to practice your faith that it becomes kind of easy, and then in turn a lot of people
Okay.
just kind of get in the routine
Yeah.
of that, and I think there's a real lack of just a personal relationship with Jesus, like reading your Bible on your own, praying on your own. College is obviously a very busy time, and so there's a lot of just momentary, great moments of worship, but not necessarily like lifestyles of worship and lifestyles of living out their faith. So we really just want to call people to like a daily surrendering in their relationship with the Lord, and just really see
On and
Yeah.
off campus.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's easy
that's
to-
the big thing too.
yeah.
We have a big heart for the community, like that we're in Marion, Indiana, so like we're a part of a city, and we would love to see even so many kids on our school at our school just kind of go into the community that we're a part of, and that's just like I said, the hope and the vision is
And the
that
high schools and the,
Yeah.
it's just,
Absolutely.
you guys would be great role models for that.
Yeah.
Indiana Wesleyan has a huge continuing education program.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of folks that I've worked with over the years have gotten degrees, undergraduate degrees, as well as
Yeah.
gone on for master's degrees and gotten their education through Indiana Wesleyan. And one of the things that they do require is that you take a class in religion.
Yeah.
So it's known as a good school.
Yeah, it's a very good school, and every student on campus has to take a class in Old Testament, New Testament, and theology. So, like I said, everybody's definitely required to do things that would push them in their faith. But it just kind of, like I said, gets easy, and a lot of students become complacent, and that's why we're so focused on the freshman class, is just being able to nip that in the bud right away and really get them like hooked up with a mentor and just pushed in their faith and all that kind of stuff. So.
Are you gonna be able to follow up on that young man that his brother was so abusive?
What's tough, at least about being a part of a school team, is that it's very tough for us. I was at 7 different camps this summer, so that was just one week out of 7. So you can only imagine the amount of kids that I even had a chance to personally counsel all summer.
I didn't know if there was a way he could
Right.
keep you up or text
There
you.
definitely is. Like there's always the offer of adding us like on Facebook or something like that and sending us a message. But what we really, really tried to do, especially this summer, since we're there 5 to 6 days, and then we're moving on to the next camp, is we really try and hook them up with their youth pastor back home.
That's good.
And just let them know, like, hey, this is everything that happened, and his name was Isaac, so in Isaac's life this week, and we just really want you to be aware of what happened, because, like, I don't get to go home with Isaac, obviously, but his youth pastor does. Like, he'll be there, for the rest of his time in high school, so we want to hook
Put
him
on
back
our
up
prayer
with,
list
Yeah.
and pray for him.
yeah, we want to hook him back up with his youth pastor in local church, like, ASAP, so that when he gets home, like, he'll have support and everything. So that's kind of the goal, is that we get to be a big part of what happens, like, at camp, and then we hopefully send them back home with a good support system. So.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
When you get into the pastorate in connection with Wesleyan, do you have any control at all over where you would be a pastor, or how long you might stay at that particular pastor, or
Yeah.
is that pretty much planned for you and they move you at their discretion?
Yeah, in the Wesleyan Church, it's not like the United Methodist Church, where, like, they kind of appoint you and send you places. So you get to, pick wherever you want to go. Obviously, you want to follow the Lord's leading as much as possible. But there might be situations where you kind of feel like God's saying, just do whatever you feel like, whatever opportunities in front of you, whatever that looks like. So I know, for at least in my life, I don't know what's next, like, for the real world opportunity. I guess. I have one more year of my undergrad, and then I'm doing a 2-year master's program right after. So I have 3 more years of school, technically. This ministry, Awaken, could be actually a long-term thing for me. I'm not sure. It could be something that becomes, I could get brought on staff. I could be helping plant the ministry at college campuses. So that could be something that's in the future. I'm very, very interested in church planning. I have a good friend, Andy, that I talked about earlier, and then I have a really good friend that goes to Spring Arbor University up in Michigan. His name is Jake, and us 3 are all super interested in church planning, maybe even doing something like that together. So we're curious about what that would look like, even, and doing something like that. So there's a lot of different possibilities for what I could be doing even right out of college. So, we can, in the Wesleyan Church, we can stay at a church as long as we want, go kind of wherever we want, just really whatever God tells me to do is what I'm hoping to do. So I don't know what that looks like 2 years from now. I'm just really focused on at least what this year has to offer, and I'm sure that it's going to be a pretty crazy, hectic year. And by the end of it, I'll have a lot more of an idea of what's next. So just kind of taking it one step at a time as much as I can for now. Yeah.
It's just like our church, Charlie. His dad might feel led to go to a church or to an area, he'll go and candidate, and they'll vote on him.
Yep.
That's seriously do. They can't just go anywhere and say, I'm a new preacher. They can go start a church somewhere, but if they want to try to get to another church, if they have interest, they'll candidate for that position.
Yep.
Well, this is all very interesting, Marcus. We certainly appreciate everything you've shared. And along with his sharing, as we think of prayer requests, we'll keep him in our mind, as well as those that he's spoken about. A lot of needs when it comes to young people as well as us old people. And I want to remind Marcus, we've got at least 4 couples that are generally here every Sunday, but it's a holiday weekend.
Right.
And at least 4 couples. So we have about 18 this morning. We usually run more like 28. So I hate for them to have missed this morning, but we're just thankful that you're a part of this. And anybody else have any other questions for Marcus or about the school? Why, just join right in, and we'll get it connected with this. We'll get into our prayer requests this morning. Anybody has